This episode is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. No matter how you do game day, on the couch, in the crowd, or manning the snack table, Athletic Brewing fits right in. With a full lineup of non-alcoholic beer styles, you can enjoy bold flavors all game long. No hangovers, no buzz, no subbing out for water in the second half. Stock the fridge for tip-off with a variety of non-alcoholic craft styles available at your local grocery store or online at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, fit for all times.
Sierra has all the best active and outdoor brands you need. From athletic stuff, like a full court pickup game, swish, to athlete-ish stuff, like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. And for morning hikes up the mountain trail, good pace. To nighttime ghost stories from the camping chair. What a twist. Whatever level of active, Sierra loves it all. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athlete-ish, Sierra's got it.
We work hard to strike the right amount of intelligence and ignorance. The Last Show with David Cooper.
When it comes to climate change, you might expect solutions from scientists, politicians, maybe even well-meaning billionaires. Probably not, though. But according to new research, one of the most powerful climate influencers who could help you might be your hairdresser. I'm here with someone who recently researched this. His name is Sam Hampton. He's a social scientist at both the University of Bath and Oxford in the UK. Sam, what a joy it is to have you on the program.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So your academic paper is titled Public Engagement and Climate Change, Exploring the Role of Hairdressers as Everyday Influencers. What made you want to look at hairdressers' role in climate change? It seems like such an unlikely connection for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually work in public engagement and climate change quite broadly, but I'm also interested in the role of small businesses and have done that for a long time. And so the two things kind of came together. Hairdressers are obviously mostly small businesses. There are millions of them around the world in every community. So I kind of came to this from a slightly more boring, technical, who uses lots of energy and water and resources angle. And then when someone mentioned hairdressers, I was like, this could be really interesting because what are hairdressers famous for? They're famous for talking to people, not for, being energy consumers, which is ultimately one of the things we want to do is help them to reduce their environmental impact. But actually, when we think about what's needed to tackle climate change, it's not just reducing our consumption. It's also like spreading the word, building social movements, getting people to vote for the right kind of policies and parties. And actually, if we can help get those messages out through basically what our hairdressers are like, actually kind of trusted communicators embedded in communities, then like what that could be really effective.
We all see like celebrities at the Oscars or the BAFTAs making big statements about the climate and big political statements. But to me, like these direct conversations you have with people in your community, it's no surprise now that I think about it that a hairdresser and a client could be a powerful place for a conversation like that. What makes these sort of interpersonal, not watching celebrities talk about it or influencers, what makes these conversations such a powerful tool?
Well, I mean, as you say, it's a two-way conversation. As much as we'd love to have a conversation with Leo, right? And all these kind of high-profile leaders. And of course, those people are important. In fact, it might be that you talk about those celebrities and, I don't know, Taylor Swift's private jets or whatever it is at the hairdresser. But it's that ability to actually engage people in a two-way conversation that I think is really effective.
I love this phrase, everyday influencers. What does this mean? This comes up in your research?
Well, yeah, it's something that we think we coined from this, right? Did lots of Googling and I couldn't find it anywhere else. So it's this idea. We all know about the rise of the influencer. Now every 13-year-old kid wants to be an influencer when they grow up, right? And what we think of is, Kylie Jenner and all of those people with millions of followers. But actually, I think if you think about the concept of influence, that happens in a much more local way. You probably the most influential people are your parents and your teachers and your friends and family, right? So actually, if you think about the kind of science of influence, those everyday influencers have just as much power as those high-profile leaders.
So how do you even test this? How do you set up an experiment? Do you ask certain hairdressers to bring up certain topics and then interview the people whose hair they cut or worked on to see if it swayed their opinion? Like, how do you frame an experiment to come to the conclusion that hairdressers can be a powerful tool with climate change?
Yeah, really good question. And we did a bit of that in this study. Some colleagues that we co-wrote the paper with at the University of Southampton did exactly that. So they asked hairdressers to put QR codes and stick them on the mirrors. And that would just be a kind of, oh, what's this? So someone curious would just scan the QR code and it would give them a prompt, maybe a conversation starter, or a fact, like, did you know that, it's completely unnecessary to wash your hair more than 3 times a week, and yet most people do. Those kinds of things, don't believe the adverts. Or even just something else, any kind of statistic or something to bring up with your hairdresser. So they in that study found that was a really effective way to engage, and obviously it's a pretty easy thing for a hairdresser to do, just stick a sticker on. We then went and spoke to members of the Green Salon Collective, and there are hundreds of sustainable salons around the UK. And we just asked the hairdressers and the stylists, you're obviously passionate yourself about sustainability. Do you try to build this into conversation? So we did both. Well, colleagues did that kind of experimental research design, and then we just did a more kind of discovery, what's going on here, and found that, there was a lot these people actively try to bring in climate into their everyday conversations.
I care about this planet. I believe in climate change, but assuming I'm someone skeptical, okay? My name's Bob. I don't think about climate change much. I don't know what to think about it. If I sit in my hairdresser's chair and they start a conversation like this with me, how likely am I to change my views or actually start caring or change my behavior?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I get it from some of the comments that we've had, from the social media that we've posted around this. There are plenty of people who think this is highly inappropriate. So I get that, and basically what the stylists and hairdressers told us was they're not idiots, right? They're really good at reading people and gauging the kind of thing that's going to work with different people. So they might drop in something quite subtle, and just they get the message, this is not the person to be talking about this with. Or they might start with something much more neutral, oh, isn't it terrible that California's had so many wildfires recently? Even Bob, who doesn't give a crap about climate change, is going to hopefully give a crap about millions of animals and people losing their homes and that kind of thing.
But what is the amount of influence that hairdressers can have? Coming out of a session where a hairdresser is subtly trying to start this conversation with me, how likely am I to change my habits based on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And a couple of things. One is that it's often the triangulation of multiple sources, right? It's you saw it on the news. Your aunt mentioned something, and now your hairdresser's talking about it. So it's not the only kind of intervention, and so it's really difficult to measure cause and effect. But what we did find is that hairdressers found they were more comfortable talking about hair and hair care because it's kind of what they know, and so that stuff around use the different types of product. This product is better for the environment. It uses less chemicals, or something around the frequency of hair washing. That's actually one of the biggest impacts, right? If you wash your hair twice a day, you're going to have a much bigger environmental impact. So there is a more direct link there.
Taking a step back, what does this research say about how social change actually spreads? I'm remembering the Save the Whales campaign in the 90s. Does it need to be a big public campaign, or is it more about these tiny conversations that happen in places like salons, barber shops, maybe at the grocery store?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a boring answer is it's got to be both. I don't know if you or your listeners have seen the news about climate change. It's pretty serious. It's pretty we need to throw everything at this problem. And so, yes, we need public campaigns. Yes, we need government policy. But the way that we get government policy and a really effective transformative policies is to build a groundswell of public support for that stuff, right? So, if we're going to start, taxing flying in a serious way, we need people to want that and vote for it. And that comes from those grocery store conversations.
Sam Hampton is a social scientist at the University of Bath and Oxford in the UK. Sam, I've enjoyed the chat. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
My name is Mickey Fox.
Friday, February 27th on Global.
I'm Sheriff of Edgewater.
For her, keeping the peace
Cartels moving in.
means every investigation.
People are getting threats.
It's close to home.
At the end of the day, I'm responsible for this town.
Secrets, loyalties, and small-town justice collide in the new hit drama.
I'm a damn good sheriff.
Sheriff Country returns Friday, February 27th on Global. Stream on Stack TV.